All right. Well, what do you think, Chris? Should I start us off with a few words of introduction?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen share. This is actually my first screen share. So okay. So it looks like screen share is disabled for me to be able to do. So Marita, I'm not sure. Is that something that you're able to do?
Let me see if I can check my settings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So while Marita's checking the settings there on the screen share, maybe it'll be enabled for me to be able to do the screen share here in a minute. But just by way of introduction, so I'm Father Ryan McDaniel. I'm a Catholic priest. I'm also a faculty member at EIU in the School of Communication and Journalism. But I also serve the state of Illinois and our country in the Illinois Air National Guard as a chaplain. So I'm an Air Force chaplain and serve in uniform with the Illinois Air National Guard. Now, one of the unique features of the National Guard throughout the entire country is that each state's National Guard has what's called a state partnership with another country somewhere in the world. Now, the state of Illinois has a state partnership with the country of Poland. And so that means the Illinois National Guard, both the Army component and the Air Force component of the National Guard, will do various things cooperatively in this partnership with the military of the country of Poland. And so that involves all kinds of things. But one of the very unique features of this is that there is a centuries-long tradition of pilgrimage in the country of Poland. And their military has an official participation in this pilgrimage. And so every year they have somewhere in the order of 500 of their members of the military and family members of their military that participate in this pilgrimage, along with tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. In any given year, it might be somewhere in the order of 250,000 across the country that participate in a pilgrimage during the first 2 weeks of August. And so the military's participation in this is unique. And because the Polish military does this, they also send formal invitations to other countries to send a small delegation to participate with the Polish military doing this. And so this can involve any number of countries in any given year, but the Illinois National Guard receives a formal invitation sent via the Adjutant General of the National Guard for the state of Illinois to send a delegation of up to 18 participants. And in the first 2 weeks of August, Technical Sergeant Chris Cougill and Chaplain Captain Ryan McDaniel in August of 2019 got to participate as 2 of the 18 participants in the delegation sent by the Illinois National Guard to Poland to participate in this pilgrimage. And so we're going to recount kind of our experience, what that was like. I've got a few more words of introduction about what this pilgrimage is to kind of situate us. And then it's just going to be kind of some personal sharing of what it was like. But before I go any further, I just want to pause and ask Marita, did we resolve that?
I think I tried.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to try screen sharing, and you tell me what happens when I do that.
There you go.
All right, so you can see my screen. Let's see. I try to get this in presentation mode. All right, so right now you should see a title screen, Poland Pilgrimage 2019. All right, thanks for that. Wasn't really sure, what to call the pilgrimage. So I simply said, told us what we were looking at here, and I noted 225 miles, 10 days, every step is a gift. And as I experienced the pilgrimage, that last statement there, every step is a gift, that I'll say a bit more maybe about pilgrimage as we go along, but that was kind of the major takeaway for me during this pilgrimage, and a major source of my meditation, looking back on the pilgrimage and what that experience was like. Every step is a gift, and that means a lot of things to me as I look back on the experience. But as let's see, as we go forward here, by the way, this slideshow I can make available to everyone participating in our gathering right now, so that you can kind of look at these slides on your own. One of the last slides provides some links to some videos that I don't know if it will make more sense to watch those kind of together, or just to leave that to you to watch on your own, as is most convenient for you. But I'll make this slideshow available to anyone that would like to have it. But this is just kind of my opening kind of description of what it was that we're talking about and what it was that we participated in. So I guess the first part of this is to note that the country Poland is an extremely Catholic country. It marks in many ways the culture, the history, and the identity of the country Poland. Something very significant about the country Poland is that for very long stretches of time, the country did not exist. The country lost its borders. To speak with Polish people, they will understand this very clearly. To speak with anyone who understands some of the history of Europe, they'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. How the country Poland disappeared, and then reemerged with the reassertion of its sovereignty, its independence, and its borders. During that time, one of the things that allowed the people, the Polish people, to retain a sense of identity, culture, and heritage, among other things, was the language, but also the shared sense of Catholic identity.
I'm sorry.
So this is something that is true to a degree that is difficult for us in the United States, with the non-establishment clause, right? There's no established church for the country of the United States. It's difficult for us to maybe fully understand and appreciate as an aspect of the culture. But the Catholic identity allowed the Polish people, along with language and other shared features of their culture, to retain an identity and a unity, even when their borders disappeared, having been swallowed up, whether by Soviets or Nazis, and to reemerge and reassert their sovereignty and their borders. But the pilgrimage takes place in the first 2 weeks of August, that leads up to a very important solemnity or holy day in the sacred calendar of the Catholic Church, celebrating the Assumption of Mary. So it's Mary, the mother of Jesus. She is understood in the Catholic faith to have been taken up, body and soul, into heaven. And so when that event occurred, that's marked on the Catholic sacred calendar on August 15th. And so for the 2 weeks that lead up to that, there can be various devotions, including fasting or pilgrimage or other kinds of devotions that lead up to the celebration of that day. And in Poland, it's celebrated by having pilgrimages that lead to a particular icon that is kept at the monastery of Jasna Góra in the city of Częstochowa. And I apologize to any Polish speakers that may be tuning in today. I apologize for if I'm not pronouncing words correctly, but I'll do the best that I can. So in the city of Częstochowa, there's the monastery of Jasna Góra, and this icon is kept there. And this icon dates back to the East Roman Empire. It was kept in the city of Constantinople, and through various history that we won't recount, it finds its home in this monastery in Częstochowa. And so various pilgrimages are made there, but most especially leading up to the solemnity of the Assumption on August 15th. And so that takes all different kinds of forms, all different kinds of people do it in all different kinds of ways. But one of the largest organized ways of doing the pilgrimage is called the Warsaw Metropolitan Academic Pilgrimage. The Warsaw Metropolitan Academic Pilgrimage. And it took place for the first time in 1981, based on centuries-long traditions. And it's a walking pilgrimage that begins in Old Town Warsaw. And it's called the Academic Pilgrimage because it begins at a church that's called the Academic Church, the Church of St. Anna in Warsaw. And it's called an academic church because that particular church is connected with, associated with various academic institutions located in Warsaw. And so keep in mind, the academic pilgrimage is itself just one organized pilgrimage among many other pilgrimages taking place where all different kinds of people from all over the country are traveling to Jasna Góra for August 15th. And like I said, in any given year, it can be somewhere in the order of 250,000 people from all over Poland and even all over Europe, and by extension, even other countries throughout the world that will go and participate in this pilgrimage. Of the academic pilgrimage, it's made up of several different subgroups, anywhere from maybe a dozen to 24, depends on what year. One of those subgroups is the Polish military, right? So you kind of get the big picture here. 250,000 people representing some number of thousands of people is the academic pilgrimage. That itself is made up of over a dozen different subgroups, one of which is the Polish military that has around 500 or so. And as members of the Illinois National Guard, we were members of an 18 member component participating in that Polish military pilgrimage. And so we begin at this church in Old Town Warsaw, and we walk. We set out from there to walk about 225 miles to Częstochowa. Again, the focus of which is that icon of the Black Madonna, kept at the Jasna Góra Monastery. All right, so I've already had a chance to discuss kind of how this came about, that we got to do this on orders as members of the Illinois National Guard. And obviously not a combat mission, but it's certainly a part of being ambassadors and building relationships with that state partnership we have with the country of Poland. All right, so kind of as I go along here, I can share various pictures and memories. I was trying to incorporate even more pictures, but the cloud was giving me fits here. But the shell is a symbol that's often associated with pilgrimage in the Catholic tradition, and so this was one of several signs across Poland marking a very traditional pilgrimage out. So that seemed like a good picture to start with, and you could see we completed the pilgrimage in uniform from day one to the end. But before I go any further, I just want to pause and ask Chris if there's anything that he would like to jump in and share at this point.
I think you covered the lion's share of what I was interested in adding. I will add that I found this particularly interesting to witness. There's a distinct lack of separation. We're used to the term separation of church and state in the United States. That is not the case, obviously, in Poland. The Polish military participates in an rather official and active capacity in a religious pilgrimage, which I found fascinating. And I'm sure you'll talk about this, Father Ryan, but I was struck by the cultural pride that the Poles possess and communicate very effectively. It was just a fantastic experience. And to give you a little background on my how I arrived at this opportunity, I started off 20 years ago in the Illinois Air National Guard as an aircraft maintenance airman. So I fixed our jets, and it was only after about 12 years of that I switched over to the chaplain's office as a chaplain assistant. Now we're formally referred to as a religious affairs airman. But essentially, I assist in the chaplain's office, and this opportunity arose, and you can imagine what an experience. I've traveled all around the world with the military. I've been to Kyrgyzstan, Qatar, Germany, France, Guam, Alaska, throughout the United States. This experience was just remarkable, and I won't say any more than that for now. Thank you, sir.
Definitely have to concur there. The experience was absolutely remarkable. I have not been in the Air National Guard as long as Chris has. I joined the Air National Guard in 2012, and have done a few things, but have not been in nearly as long as Chris has, and not had nearly as many experiences. And I remember very clearly Chris telling me about the existence of this pilgrimage, and absolutely agreed with what he expressed to me at the time. Like, if ever I get a chance to do this, I really want to do this. And I thought, yes, absolutely, that sounds incredible. So in 2019, we had the chance to do it, and very thankful for it. And absolutely incredible experience. And yes, in this at this time, we talk, it seems like, especially at the university, a lot about the idea of diversity and different kinds of cultures and different kinds of people and so on and so forth. And one of the things that that can be overlooked, that it's important to become self-aware of, is that not every place in the world has this strict idea that we have of separation of church and state. And that's true of several different countries, reflecting several different religious traditions. And when we're guests in someone else's home, there's a kind of courtesy that goes along with that. That our 18-member delegation by no means was all Catholics, who kind of were coming from this shared religious background and conviction. Obviously, I'm a Catholic priest, and so as I experience that, I experience it in one way, but other members of our delegation who were not Catholic and maybe not particularly religious at all, how they would experience it would be different. What's clear is that this is a very important part of Polish national identity, and those members of the military that were doing this pilgrimage, they were doing so because they chose to, So they were not given a set of orders to do this, in spite of wishing that they didn't have to, right? It wasn't like the members of the Polish military were told by their, commanding officer, you must do this. And that's certainly the case for members of the Illinois National Guard. No one is told you must do this, like it or not, right? It's certainly we're certainly on orders, but we volunteered to do it. And so we understand what it is and what we're volunteering for, and no one is going to be forced to do this if they don't want to. So everyone who's doing it wanted to be there for one reason or another, and I found it to be the case even with the Poles. The nature of their religious convictions could vary, but everyone's reasons for being there and wanting to do it, were known to themselves, I guess. And members of our own delegation, each of us kind of had our own reasons for being there and doing it. And as a result, that also kind of shaped our own experience of being a part of this. So it's kind of like, this is what we're doing. This is what it means. Everyone is welcome to come and be a part of this. What it means to you will kind of differ, right, from person to person. And so certainly as members of our delegation, like I mentioned before, I use this word ambassador, and that's, Chris and I talked about this. We both agreed that, as members of the delegation, we really felt like we were international ambassadors, because this was a very culturally sensitive event and very, very important, right? And important in a way that would not translate directly to something that we would do officially as the United States military, but this is certainly something very official that's being done at the level of the Polish military, and so we got to be there as guests. So I'll just kind of share some pictures here and some reflections, and we'll see what comes to mind and what questions emerge. All right, so here's one of the stops along the way. As I mentioned, every aspect of this pilgrimage, from beginning to end, is marked, is touched in some way by the presence of the Catholic tradition, and more particularly the Polish Catholic tradition. This is a picture from one of the places where we stopped. This is a convent, and pictured here is a woman that would be called a cloistered nun. So cloistered means that she stays in the monastery. She doesn't go out and about doing this, that, and the other thing. Her understanding of her religious calling is to stay in this monastery as a part of a community of women, primarily dedicated to prayer, worship of God, and then serving visitors who might come to the monastery. And when they do this, this is a rather traditional setup here, where there's a kind of partition that symbolizes that they have kind of pulled back from the rest of the world in order to live this semi-secluded life of prayer and worship. And so the ironwork that you see there demonstrates that kind of partition, right? But you can see that they're happy to receive us as pilgrims, and to serve us food. So it turns out, when you're walking 20 to 25 miles a day, you get hungry. And so one of the absolutely crucial ways that this works is there are people that provide hospitality along the way. And this can look different. It can look different as we go along. The Polish military generally provided breakfast and dinner, right? So you begin your day and end your day with meals that are set up in a base camp. So we would make camp every night, and we'd come into camp at the end of the day. Everyone was beat from having walked 20 to 25 miles that day, and you'd want to get a shower, right? There are two priorities. You'd want to get a shower and you'd want to get some food. Those were two key priorities that everyone had. But lunch during the day, as you're walking across the country, again, from Warsaw to Częstochowa, about 225 miles across the country of Poland, through many rural roads and through many small towns, villages, so on and so forth. One of the key aspects that would make this work was where to get lunch. And there would be various places that would be pre-organized that would provide hospitality and lunch for us along the way. And at this particular stop, it was a monastery, a convent, right, of cloistered nuns. And so I just paused to get a picture with this nun here. And along the way, there were also other pilgrims doing this, right? So remember, I mentioned that while our particular contingent was somewhere in the order of 500 military and a few of their family members, there were other all kinds of other organized pilgrimages going on at the same time that were part of the wider academic pilgrimage that consisted of many thousands of people. And so I got various pictures with other pilgrims. So here after the cloistered nun, I've also grabbed a picture here with some other religious sisters. So the cloistered nun always stays in the monastery. Religious sisters have a more active ministry where they're out and about doing this, that, and the other thing. And so these sisters were part of the academic pilgrimage. You can see they're all wearing lanyards identifying that they're parts of the pilgrimage group that they were with. I remember these sisters in particular were carrying a relic of Pope St. John Paul II. That is significant to anyone here. So we chatted a bit, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of people speak English. Few Americans speak other languages, but when you go outside of America, many other people actually do speak English, right? So there's various reasons for that. And so I was able to chat with several of the pilgrims on the way. All right, so this, I'm glad I was able to get this picture into the slideshow. This gives you a glimpse of just how many people we're talking about in the military contingent alone. So this was the group that Chris and I were embedded with. Somewhere in the order of 500 military pilgrims. And so just kind of take that in. This we were making a curve here, and so that provided a great opportunity to get a more of a large panoramic view of everyone walking. You'll see various people are holding banners. You'll notice a man kind of in the middle there wearing a fluorescent vest. There were, Chris might remember more clearly than me, but I would say somewhere between 4 and 6 of these people who were serving as road guards and herds, right? Shepherds, I was going to say herdsmen, but in fact it wasn't just men, right? There were women doing this as well, and they would help with traffic, because we were walking on roads that are made for cars, and they did have traffic of cars going through, and we would need to be over to the side and out of the way so that the cars could get around us. But we'd also need to cross intersections, including train tracks and things like that. And when you have this large of a mass of people moving together for mass movement, you need to have people who are coordinated, understand what's going on with traffic, cars, and trains. And you need to have them to kind of herd everyone, saying like, okay, everybody go. Okay, everybody stop. Okay, it's time to stop and take a break. And they had whistles and just hand signals and walkie-talkie, communicate with each other and get information on what's going on and kind of help us to make our way. You can see everyone is in uniform. Anyone that you see there not in uniform is going to be a family member. You can see that the footwear A few people do have tennis shoes on, right? That's basically is a special exception because, you know, when it's not as if everyone doing this, it's not as if we're all trained hardcore special forces, right? That are used to walking, you know, 20 and 30 miles a day for days on end, right? That's certainly not me. You know, it's not Chris. You know, we're both, you know, we're both fairly fit, and we trained leading up to this. In fact, we did a lot of training together, which kind of helped us build some camaraderie, you know, going into it. But it's not as if we're, you know, incredible special forces super athletes, right? So you know, foot blistering and soreness and other issues were always an issue going on. I was fairly fortunate. The blistering, I didn't really get any serious blisters. I lost one toenail. That was it. Others, you know, had a much harder time of it. So I felt fairly fortunate. But I just thought that was a great picture to kind of see everyone. As I look at this picture here, you can see, if you can recognize a couple of American uniforms there, especially at the left. All right, so here's just another kind of picture on the Pilgrim Trail. So the guy over my shoulder there wearing the purple stole, that was fairly typical of the Polish military chaplains. They all wore purple stoles the whole time over their uniform. And the reason for that was because they were present always as a confessor, which means they were always present to hear confessions along the pilgrimage trail. So at any time, someone could say, "Hey, you know, I want to speak to a priest, and I want it to be in the context of the sacrament of confession." And so they were always wearing the purple stole, kind of symbolizing their presence as confessors throughout the pilgrimage. And the priest there giving the thumbs up, he was also a talented vocalist. So he would lead a lot of the singing. And as Chris would surely agree, this was one of the most characteristic aspects of our experience while walking. Day in and day out, you're walking, you know, for 10 hours and more across the country. There's always singing going on. Someone's strumming a guitar, and you're singing. And many of the songs were in Polish. A few were in English. I am not a vocalist by any means, but I was basically begged to lead some singing in English. They really wanted me to do this, so it's like, I don't think you understand what you're asking, but okay, right? I'll give this a shot. And so I part of my penance, so to speak, on this pilgrimage was making a fool of myself and leading some singing, and everyone was very gracious and patient with me as I did that. So that was definitely, you know, part of the whole experience here. As we walk, there's various priests and always kind of being what we, you know, what is historically said of military chaplains, even here in the United States, is that we're a visible reminder of the holy, and that was very much the case with the chaplains as we were present throughout the pilgrimage. So went ahead and threw in a picture here of me leading some prayers. If you look at my hands, you can see in one hand I have a microphone, but if you look carefully in my other hand, you can see I'm holding a rosary there. So the rosary was prayed daily as we were walking together, and I was asked to lead part of that for the English component. Other chaplains from the other delegations of other countries were also asked to do that. So one of the things I haven't mentioned yet here, I've mentioned that we're embedded with the Polish military. There were other countries that did have delegations that were with us the whole time as well. So if you look at my arm there, the two patches I'm wearing, those are not authorized patches for my uniform. Those are on there as a special exception, just as part of the pilgrimage experience. A special exception, right? That's going on because we're on pilgrimage. And the patch there at the top, closest to my shoulder, where you see the red and white color, you can see that's Mary, right? The mother of Jesus, the mother of God, in silhouette over the white and the red for the Polish flag. And then there's words in Polish around there that basically identify this as the pilgrimage that's taking place of its kind in 2019. Below that is a patch that I received from a Catholic priest who was a Catholic military chaplain from the country of Lithuania. So that is the official Lithuanian chaplain patch for the Lithuanian military. And one of the kind of features of the pilgrimage experience, a lot of us were trading patches and trading uniform items and kind of building, I guess, camaraderie and friendship through trading various things. And so the countries of Germany, Lithuania, that I mentioned, and Slovakia all had delegations there. I think another country may have joined us just at the very end, but in terms of countries that were with us the whole time, those were the other three countries, in addition to the United States, that had delegations there with the Poles. And kind of as I've hinted at before, one of the fantastic features of this pilgrimage was building friendships along the way. The Polish soldier you see here was a seminarian. So he was studying at a Polish seminary in order to be ordained as a Catholic priest to serve in Poland. And he was what here in the United States we would call a chaplain candidate. So he was in the Polish military, but he was in the military preparing to be a military chaplain in the Polish military. By the way, all chaplains in the Polish military are Catholic priests. There's no exception to that. They're all Catholic priests. That's also true of Lithuanian military chaplains. Not the case with German military chaplains. I'm not sure with Slovakia. The United States military can have chaplains in principle from any religious tradition, as long as there's a sufficient number of members of the military of that religious tradition, and we can recognize that and have those various religious traditions represented in our chaplain corps. Our presence was very much valued. The Poles were very gracious and were very proud to have us, and valued the international presence there, and valued having those international delegations there and participating. So I named some of the other countries. The flag of the United States of America was always carried at the front of the entire pilgrimage. So all 500 members marching, there was always a member of the U.S. delegation from the Illinois National Guard at the front carrying that flag. And pictured there is another member from our own unit. By our own unit, I guess I didn't mention what unit we were with. Chris and I are both with the 126th Air Refueling Wing, located at Scott Air Force Base, just outside of Belleville, Illinois. So pictured there is he now holds the rank of chief. So that's Chief Chris Mertz right there. That's the highest enlisted rank. He was he was one of our members who carried that flag tirelessly, put in a lot of work carrying that flag, and very happy to have been able to get some pictures of him that I shared with him carrying that flag. But I was happy to be able to get this picture in, just showing, you know, the international representation here. This is at a large outdoor mass where this is something unusual, I guess. When you celebrate mass, you know you don't usually see this, but because of the nature of the pilgrimage, we had thousands of people. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my large panoramic picture that gave you that would have given you a nice visual of the thousands of people outside gathered in large open areas for mass. And up front, there were those representing various nations and those holding banners and other symbols representing the various pilgrimage delegations that participated in this. And so the flag of the U.S. Was always held and represented up front, these large masses. As a priest, I was, if you look over Chief Mertz's shoulder, you can see some people in white. There's some priests back there getting ready for mass, I as a priest was one among several dozen priests who were there with the academic pilgrimage, all celebrating mass together. That kind of that area with a roof over it there, that's where the altar was for celebrating mass for that particular outdoor mass. So like I mentioned, our destination was the city of Częstochowa with the monastery, Jasna Góra. And so just pause for a moment to catch a picture of that sign as we walked in. We celebrated mass every single day, with only one or two exceptions. It was always the large academic pilgrimage outdoor masses at various locations. This was one of the pictures that I grabbed as we were just as priests getting ready to celebrate mass. Those pictured there. I'm obviously American. To my right, that's a Pole. It's the same Polish priest you saw with the thumbs up. Behind him is a Slovak. Behind him is a Pole, then another Slovak, and then a German Catholic priest, and then another Pole next to him. So this was our final destination here. This is the inside the monastery at Jasna Góra. This after days of walking was finally where we ended up. The icon that you see top center there, that is the icon of the Black Madonna of Częstochowa. That icon that is centuries old and has traveled to different places, and at one time found its home in the city of Constantinople, but now finds its home in this shrine. The three men up front there, they're all bishops. The bishop in the center is a general in the Polish military. This is a difference between how it's done in the United States military and the Polish military. In the United States military, our chaplains are from several different religious traditions, though numerically primarily Protestant, Christian, and then Catholic chaplains. Though, and I won't get into this, though we are now in and have for many years been experiencing a critical shortage of Catholic chaplains in the military across all three chaplain corps: Army, Navy, and Air Force. But as I mentioned before, with the Polish military, all the chaplains are Catholic, and their top ranking chaplain attains the rank of general, and he is also made a bishop. So he's not simply a priest, but he's also made a bishop in the Catholic Church, and that corresponds to his role as the general in charge of all the chaplains for the Polish military. So that's the bishop there in the middle. To his left, that is Bishop Mumm. He is one of the assisting bishops in the Archdiocese for the Military Services, which is the entity in charge of all the Catholic chaplains that serve in the United States military, as well as the VA and even federal prisons and a few other ways as well. And so that's the archdiocese that I fall under when I'm serving as a military chaplain. And so he joined us for the last few days of the pilgrimage. So that's him, Bishop Mumm there up front on the left, and then the bishop on the right. He is from Slovakia, so he joined the Slovaks and the Slovakian delegation there at the end, and that's them just giving a blessing there at the end to all the pilgrims. That's just a picture that I got of the monastery itself, the outside. You can see all of those flags lining the street there. This pilgrimage where everyone arrives there on August 15th, it's very much an international pilgrimage. People come from all over Europe, all over the world to participate in this pilgrimage. And again, any given year, about 250,000 people will make pilgrimage to this icon, right? So they'll come and venerate this icon here. I was very humbled, very honored that the Polish commander that was in charge of the military pilgrimage every night. He provided me with a plaque there in my hand. You can see I'm receiving it and shaking his hand. This is taking place one of the last nights that we were together. Every night, at the end of the day, when everyone's had a chance to be showered and cleaned up, get something to eat, everyone has had a chance to do whatever they need to do. They're settled into their tents and have a chance to relax. One of the things that happens is there's music and dancing, which was something maybe I'm just getting old, but I found that hard to relate to and never participated in the dancing. But there would be fast, upbeat music, and the Polish young adults, and by young adults, this might be from say 18, when you first entered the military, through probably 20 somethings. And maybe there were some 30 and 40 somethings. I certainly wasn't among them that did this, but they would just put on fun folk music and upbeat dancing, and would participate in dancing. And when I say dancing, I don't mean the kind of thing that you would see if you go to a bar or a nightclub. I mean, everybody circles up and there are coordinated dance moves. So you have a gentleman and a lady, and they pair off and they will dance together, and they know the dance moves and so on and so forth. It's very much folk dancing and so on and so forth. And it's usually done in a circle, and they're having a lot of fun doing that. Afterwards, one of the other things that takes place is gathering for prayer and announcements. And so every night I would participate, offer some prayers, and then hear the announcements. And of course, they're being given in Polish, so I would rely on translations to understand what to expect the next day. And so we got very important information, what to expect the following day. One of the last evenings, I was very humbled and honored to be recognized by the commander for making various contributions, leading prayers, and so on and so forth. So one of the other pictures I managed to get uploaded when I had an opportunity to to carry the flag of our country with all those carrying the flags of their respective countries. And so you can see behind me is the flag of Germany, as well as the flag for the chaplains, specifically the Catholic chaplains of Germany, and then the flag of Slovakia there in front of me. And did include here at the end a couple of pictures of Chris and me. And then you can see the monastery of Jasna Góra, that spire in the background at the end of the street. And you can see members of the military in formation behind us. Got one more picture like that, threw in a couple of those. And those are unfortunately the only pictures I managed to get into this slideshow. But like I mentioned at the beginning, I do have a number of videos that you can watch as well. So no need to scramble and try to write these down. We'll coordinate with Marita, and we can make this whole slideshow available, and we can certainly do whatever we need to do to make sure that you have those links. But the first is an interview that a videographer did with me while on pilgrimage. So it's about 5 minutes. We can see how much time we have, but if we want to watch that or not. That's a video of an interview that was done with me. It was put on Facebook Live, and so all kinds of people are watching this, and he's wanting to interview me, and okay, and so we did that, and that went out on Facebook Live. So that's up on Facebook. And then I've got a couple of news stories that were done specifically in the 2019 pilgrimage. And if you watch the video footage, you can see members of our Illinois National Guard delegation that show up. So I'm in there, Chris is in there, right? And so if you watch these videos, that first one there on Facebook, that's a short 2-minute video. And then there's a longer news story that's a 9-minute video. Mostly these are raw footage. So some commentary and explanation, but mostly you just get to see what this looks like, and it's really neat. So I encourage you to watch those. The other one there that I call basic info. This is just another description. It's a 5-minute video of what happens every year in the first 2 weeks in August in Poland. It just kind of gives you a little snapshot to better understand how it is that hundreds of thousands of people are in mass movement across the country, all descending upon this monastery of Jasna Góra to venerate this icon in the city of Częstochowa. And the last website I put there is the official pilgrimage website for the academic pilgrimage. Remember, there's several pilgrimages that are organized. There's other people who do this and not participating in an organized pilgrimage, but one of the largest and oldest organized pilgrimages since 1981 is the academic pilgrimage. I put up on there the official website for the academic pilgrimage. It is in Polish, but if you just push that website through Google Translate, so if you have a browser Google Chrome, it'll do it for you automatically. But you can also just pull up Google Translate, push the website through there. If you do not read Polish, not to worry, it will give you a serviceable translation, and so you can actually read a little bit more about it there. I also am going to make this slideshow just available to anyone. So this is the link to this slideshow that you just saw here from me. This is available to anyone that has this link. So I'll coordinate with Marita and make sure this gets pushed out so that anyone who wants this, you can have this. You can share this with anyone that you like. I don't think there's anything on here that's that needs to be private or protected. Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just some simple pictures, right? Nothing private on here. So I cannot remember how long we were gonna go, Marita. So I'll just pause and kind of check in with you. We're at 11:56.
Right, and we scheduled this for an hour. So we better let Chris have a few minutes here. the session can go till 12:15, but I think then it'll cut us off.
Sure, yeah, and I'll keep my comments brief. Chaplain Ryan did a great job kind of giving you an overview of what this event is. If anybody has questions, please feel free while I'm talking to submit those, and we'll address those as we can. I just wanted to give a hat tip to our Polish host. Logistically, the undertaking was truly remarkable. They set up a tent city every night. They had trucks, multiple trucks to transport our luggage. Each of us had, change of uniforms, change of clothes, personal effects, toiletries, a sleeping bag, and things of that nature. And every night we would arrive to a tent city set up with cots, with pillows, ready to go, portable showers, toilets, sinks, outdoor sinks, and a field kitchen. So we were provided with breakfast and dinner every day. Those were traditional Polish meals, so lots of potatoes. We got to love potatoes while we were there, but very good food, very wholesome food, very nourishing. Lunch typically was provided by locals, which I found very interesting. We walked into this not knowing how any of this would work. So each day was kind of a new experience for us, and we learned along the way. Oh, okay, I guess we scrounge for lunch over here. We'd stop in these villages, and the turnout of the Polish people as we walked through these rural areas and larger urban areas was incredible too. The cultural pride that the Polish citizens possessed and displayed was incredible, and the warmth, particularly toward the Americans, was really a beautiful thing. So we would arrive in these villages, these towns, and locals would actually set up soup stations. They'd have bread out for us. They'd have drinks. They'd have water, tea, snacks, you name it, and it was great food. So what we did was we would carry a flask of water and refill periodically. We'd each carry a small bowl and a utensil, and you just walked up to pick a farmhouse when we stopped for one of our rest breaks, and pick a farmhouse that had food out, and someone would ladle out some food for you. Occasionally we'd stop at a church, and the church would provide a meal. So that's how our meals work. Just wanted to talk some logistics that I thought were interesting. Unlike a lot of Western Europeans, the Poles, there weren't as many Polish who spoke English. We got by just fine, but thankfully we had one member, a contingent of our delegation, was an Army National Guardsman who was a first-generation Polish American. And I won't even begin to try and pronounce his actual last name, but we all called him Sworo because it started SWORO, and the rest was about 30 letters of the alphabet. But Sworo was our translator. He was on the spot everywhere. He has deployed with the Poles in a translator capacity multiple times to Afghanistan and other hotspots around the world. So he has an excellent rapport with the Poles. So that's how we communicated frequently on the frequent times when our hosts didn't speak proficient English. What else do I have here? I wanted to add, of course, as you probably know, NATO is a strong, Poland is a strong NATO ally. They have been a very strong ally in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. And anyone who is deployed in a combat capacity with the Poles will tell you just how effective they are and what a strong ally they are. So does anybody have any questions about how this looked day to day? I can tell you I took 2 pair of boots and I would cycle them in and out. And they were brand new boots that our unit purchased for us for this. And I wore one pair of those out. The heels were gone. I also had several blisters. And I also lost a toenail. And this is coming from somebody I run regularly. I'm not afraid of taking long walks and doing those sorts of things, but this was quite an experience. And as Chaplain McDaniel said, every night when those young foals would go out and sing and dance and play soccer and wrestle, and I thought, how on earth do you have A, the energy to stand upright, and B, to stay on your feet and do that? It was quite the experience. I have some pictures I'd like to add as well when we make this available, so you can get a feel for the day-to-day. I have actually a couple pictures of what we ate in the field kitchen, things like that. And I also have a picture book. I work at Booth Library at Eastern. I'm here every day, every weekday. Feel free, if you're in, ask for Chris at the circulation desk. I will keep my book here, and it's on specifically on Częstochowa and the pilgrimage. I see a question about how many miles average. Anywhere from, Father, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think the short day was around 17 miles and our longer days were high 20s, 28, 29 miles. So
yeah, that's my recollection.
So, yeah, so doing the math, we average 25, 26 miles a day. And really that 250 miles is probably a little on the low side because we'd have to walk a little extra to get to our camping areas on occasion, or for meals, things like that. Father, Black Madonna, I'm gonna let you take that one. Why do they call her the Black Madonna?
Right. The expression, quote, Black Madonna. There are multiple images of Mary that are called the Black Madonna, many of them, and really any image, whether a two-dimensional icon or a three-dimensional statuary image, could be called the Black Madonna if there's a blackened color to the image. And so there's hundreds of these, and there's two different kinds of Black Madonnas. So it depends on what you're looking at, right? One kind would be one that's just simply blackened from years of burning candles and oil lamps and incense. I'm always amazed at how quickly it is for us to forget, living in the modern age, that electricity is a new thing. Electric lighting is a new phenomenon. And the way that you would have light, you burn candles, oil lamps, incense, well, not incense for light, but right, you would burn things. And so that would darken them. So there's many images of the Madonna, that's Mary, that are darkened and blackened. And sometimes they're called the Black Madonna for that reason. But then there are others that are not just darkened from years of the accumulation of soot and whatnot, but they were actually made with a darkened skin tone. And so there's a tradition making images of Mary with dark colored skin. And it's not simply because these were images that were made in Africa or even North Africa, being influenced by Moorish peoples or something like this. It's actually a very curious tradition that I don't have time to completely get into and explain all of the theories behind where this is. But you go back in the history of Europe, many Europeans are going to have light colored skin, but we have these images of the Madonna with dark skin. And it's a very curious tradition because they're made this way on purpose. This is one of the images that was made this way on purpose. It's called the Black Madonna because it's one of the images of Mary that was made on purpose with dark colored skin. And so it's called the Black Madonna, to reference it as an image of Mary with dark colored skin. It has never been the case that Christian iconography has only and everywhere used light colored skin. It's simply a historical error. And many icons, in fact, in Europe, are called the Black Madonna because they show Mary with dark-colored skin. So you can kind of Google this and learn a little bit more about the tradition of Black Madonnas. It's actually very interesting.
Father, you see the chat question about, do we know the artist of this particular Black Madonna?
Actually, thank you for asking that question. Historians, put on my historian cap here, historians would say no. Simply because we can track the history of this icon back reliably to the satisfaction of rigorous historians back to the Middle Ages to Constantinople. So we know we can trace it back. We know that it's had movements. We can trace it back reliably to the city of Constantinople in the High Middle Ages. We know it was there, and we can track its movement. We lose it in the mists of time from there. However, if you know anything about the tradition of Christian iconography and icons of Mary in particular, the Christian understanding that the tradition going back to the beginning is that the first icon of Mary was made by none other than the Apostle Luke, the author of the Gospel of Luke, that Luke, right? That he made the first icon of Mary. And if you read the Gospel of Luke, there's all kinds of details in there about Mary that are not found anywhere else. So the idea is that Luke had a special relationship with Mary and that he painted images of her. And this particular icon in Częstochowa is known as one of a very small number of icons in the world that, again, by tradition, was painted by the hand of Luke, the apostle, the author of the gospel. And so I share the tradition that, and again, it's not like the world is filled with these. There's actually a very small number that we can historically trace back to the Middle Ages, and by tradition is known as one of the icons made by Luke. So there you go.
Wow. Any other questions? Wow. That was fascinating, gentlemen. My head is full and I will have to do some more research now after your presentation. Thank you both for your preparation and your time and your service. Very impressed, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was interesting.
Thank you for having us, and please, by all means, come borrow my book. I'm happy to share it.
Okay, I will share the documents that that we put together on Facebook and on the Academy webpage at eiu.edu. So they will be available.
And Marita, I don't know that I can share with you the link to that slideshow. I can also, and I trust that you'll be able to provide that to everyone here that would like to make use of it.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.